Welcome back everyone, Oz here, and today I'm coming at you with r/AmITheDevil. These are all posts where the poster is most certainly in the wrong, and I am looking forward to it. So sit back and enjoy the ramblings of a madman. Am I the asshole for making fun of my wife's $7 coffee purchase? My wife struggles a lot with spending money on herself. She has immense guilt about it, and it hasn't been until recently that she feels a little bit more comfortable buying herself new underwear, bras, clothes, and makeup. Still, I have to plan our family vacations because the thought of spending money gives her great anxiety. We are upper middle class and have enough money. The other day I noticed a transaction come through on our shared credit card while my wife was at work. It was for Starbucks and over $7. I texted her immediately to see if that was her, as I thought it may have been fraudulent activity since she so rarely goes to Starbucks or anywhere like that. There is a Starbucks in the same building at her work. She has worked at this place for over 2 years and has never bought anything from the Starbucks or cafeteria. She always packs a lunch and brings her own coffee. The next morning, I made fun of the price of the coffee and I said sarcastically, "Hope that was a really good coffee for $7. I saw her expression change and tried to give her a side hug. She got really quiet and looked sad. She took our kids to school and then texted me from the gym afterwards explaining that she only went because her friends had invited her. She also pointed out that my cans of tobacco chew are more than $7 and that I can get several each week. She then did the math and figured that I spend over $700 on chew a year. I apologized via text. She got home and seemed aloof, so I apologized in person. This is a huge improvement from where I was at the beginning of our relationship. Before, I would get super angry with her for even becoming upset in the first place. She acknowledged that me apologizing was an improvement, but she told me that she's still very upset and hurt. It's been almost 2 days and she is still sad and barely talks to me. Am I the asshole here? You're not the devil, but you're definitely the asshole here, and here's why. Your wife grew up in an environment where spending money and luxuries on herself was something that was frowned upon and oftentimes shamed. You were happy with her that she was finally actually buying things for herself, and the moment she splurges with a $7 coffee, you make fun of her. And now you're seemingly upset by the fact that she's upset with you being upset with her over it? That's pretty normal. You mentioned she has anxiety over her spending habits and then you actively shame her for splurging when she's out with her friends? Dude, yeah, she's gonna be mad at you and she's entitled to be mad at you with this because you're kind of being a dick. Get her some flowers. Do something. You gotta apologize because you know what you did is wrong and not because you think she wants to hear an apology. There's a big difference, and trust me, they can tell. Learned that the hard way in high school. This one was posted to Am I the Asshole? Am I the asshole for mom shaming my 20 male sister 28 female? My 20 male sister 28 female has a 5-year-old. His dad is not in the picture. She's currently temporarily living with us. My nephew is the most entitled little brat you will ever meet. Ooh, not starting out good. Super picky eater, constantly jumping around, messy, moody, oversensitive, throwing tantrums, all because my sister enables him. Before she moved in with us, I used to feel sad for her, but now I think this is honestly my sister's fault. For example, he keeps bringing in dirty rocks. It's just kid shit, man. How dare this little brat bring rocks in from outside? Oh my god. This is gonna be hell. I'm gonna struggle with this one, man. For example, he keeps bringing in dirty rocks and instead of telling him not to, my sister washes them for him and lets him keep them. Or when he cries over a toy, she always gives in and buys him whatever he wants. He won't sleep without his toys and has the worst sleep schedule. He'll wake up in the middle of the night wanting to play because he just remembered something. She enables this behavior by listening to what he has to say. He's touch sensitive, sound sensitive, light sensitive, sensitive anything. And my sister does absolutely nothing to get him used to it. She also refuses to discipline him in any way. I told her to tell him to eat or go to bed hungry, and eventually he will get hungry and eat, but she refused, saying she won't starve her kid. I told her to stop picking up his toys after him and not give him toys until he learns. She said she won't punish him like that. He still occasionally wets himself, and my sister took him to a pediatrician for that, but they found nothing wrong and recommended to a child psychiatrist. So he got evaluated and didn't get diagnosed with anything, but my sister refuses to believe that this is the result of her poor parenting and goes doctor shopping to get him diagnosed. Now, since she moved in with us, my mom has been helping her. Oh, so it's not your house. That changes a lot. When she told us how she's so anxious about moving back because she'll be all alone again and she loves my nephew and wouldn't change him for the world, but sometimes he can be so hard to handle, I said that's on you though. She asked me what I meant. And I told her my nephew is hard to handle because she lacks discipline and keeps enabling him. Her gentle parenting clearly doesn't do her any favors. She doesn't get to complain because she paved this way by refusing to listen to our offers. My sister broke down and started crying because there's already too much on her plate. He doesn't get the help he needs. She does the best she can, and she didn't need me mom-shaming her. I apologized but told her there is nothing wrong with him. He already saw a professional. The only help he needs is some discipline. Both my parents sided with my sister, and they're all giving me the cold shoulder. Am I the asshole? I certainly appreciate the brutal honesty, but you need to remember something. He's 5. Sure, you can maybe give some suggestions to your sister about how she can maybe improve her parenting with being a bit more strict, but at the same time, don't call a 5-year-old a brat for bringing rocks inside. I do think I might have a bit of a different opinion on this if this was your home, if you, out of the goodness of your heart, invited your sister to stay over and she was actively allowing problems to occur. However, you're living with your parents. Your parents are the ones who have the final say on this. Your parents have parenting experience. You do not. They sided with her for a reason. A lot of what you described is just normal 5-year-old behavior. Some 5-year-olds don't get out of bedwetting until they're like 6 or 7. That's just how it is. Collecting rocks? That's pretty fucking normal. Children being picky eaters? Yeah, my dad pulled the timer out when I was younger. That's just how some kids are. That's pretty fucking normal. Him waking up in the middle of the night? When I was 5, I was waking up in the middle of the night all the time. I used to play with Bionicles at 3 a.m. My parents would hear me talking to myself and, I told my dad I was gonna fucking kill Kopaka for the 10th time. Every now and then they would be woken up at 3 a.m. because I couldn't find a specific Bionicle piece. I don't think they liked that at all, and oftentimes they just send me back to bed. Took me a while to learn that I should not be up at random hours and playing with Bionicles just because I woke up and was no longer sleepy. I also think that you suggesting your sister should starve their child is a bit fucked up. But also, the one flaw that she actually has is not teaching her child to pick up after themselves. That's it. I think that's the only thing that you might actually have in your favor here. Now be a good brother and help your sister out. This one's from True Off My Chest. I feel disgusted for doing this to a girl, but also confused. So there's this girl I met during a friend's birthday party. We chatted for a while and were really interested in each other from the start. It turns out we're in the same class, which is kind of weird since I hadn't noticed her before. We started dating a few days later. It was great at first. She's very tactile and clingy, which I liked initially, but then, for reasons I can't explain, I started to feel disinterested. I didn't like her being clingy anymore and started losing feelings. She noticed my lack of interest and asked me about it. I told her the truth, and she cried. I comforted her and said that I still considered her a good friend. We're in the same class, so we sit together all the time. A few days later, I felt interested in her again and told her. She was still into me, so we started dating again. After a few days, I lost interest again and felt annoyed by her for no reason, so we broke up again. She was in tears once more. Days went on, and I felt the urge to date her again, but I suppressed it because I knew how things would go. Honestly, I felt terrible and disgusted with myself for putting her through that. A few days later, at a party, we both got drunk and hooked up. We became friends with benefits at that point. She later asked if I was interested in her, and I said no. She was okay with that. Weeks went by like this. One moment I felt interested in her, and a few days later I'd lose interest. Then a guy from our class started trying really hard with her. I didn't bother because I thought he'd treat her better than I did, but after a few days of seeing them hanging out, I started to feel jealous. I thought maybe I had feelings for her again and made my move. She was hesitant at first, but eventually accepted me again. I promised her I wouldn't do the same thing again. We dated for a month, and guess what? I ghosted her. The same reasons as before. A few weeks later, I heard that she and the guy are dating. I lost it and approached her again, but this time she straight up rejected me, saying we're never going to work, which is true. I don't know why I keep doing this. I date her, lose interest, break up, then get interested again. And why do I even feel jealous if I don't really want to be with her? Buddy, you recognize it, that's the first step, but you need therapy, man. Holy hell. You recognize it's messed up to do, you're still doing it. I get it, your brain chemistry's probably fucked beyond belief, but my man, you gotta get therapy. Genuinely. Like, for your sake and for everyone around you, you need to get therapy. I'm not gonna be mean because you recognize it. and you're definitely trying to get help because you're going onto Reddit and posting about it and being honest with your behavior, and that's definitely a first step, but you gotta get help, man. Am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for wanting my son to have a more traditional wedding to reflect on his career choice? Asshole. I had a complicated birth with my youngest son, Matt, and I have always had high expectations from him. Matt is still in law school, but is still insisting on getting married this October. I'm not the biggest fan of his fiancée Amy's ideas for her wedding. She decides she wanted a Halloween marriage, and Amy doesn't care how it looks in front of Matt's peers and professors and other people in his conservative field once he finishes law school. Amy picked out black dress and somehow got in her head that she wants to wear ruby slippers to the wedding since she loves Wicked. I have repeatedly tried to tell Amy to have some respect for Matt's future field, but Amy thinks it's okay because she does marketing and some of her coworkers are coming to this disaster of a wedding. My oldest daughter dropped out of being a bridesmaid before Amy wanted the in-red dresses, and my daughter thinks Amy is being tacky, and Matt still won't do anything about the wedding and making it more traditional. I tried to talk to him again after the ruby slippers issue, and he told me maybe if his wedding stresses me out so much, I should skip it. I tried explaining that this kind of tackiness can backfire in his career because when he has wedding pictures up, people are going to notice his bride in a black dress and question his integrity as a lawyer. Matt has told me that I'm going to be uninvited to his wedding if I continue to make a scene, but I'm just trying to help people see him in a better light. I mean, the question really comes down to if Matt's happy and Amy's happy, then it's none of your business. Let them have the wedding they want to have. It's their wedding, not yours. If Matt's not concerned how people in his field see him because he has a quirky wife, then that's none of your concern. Besides, at this point, I've met a lot of lawyers, and they are quirky people, all right? Trust me, it'll be normal for them seeing this. Matt and Amy are happy, and you should be happy for them. And the fact that you're not, that's pretty sad. It sounds like you want the wedding to be traditional. Not that you care for his image, it's that you're embarrassed to have a son who's not willing to have a traditional style wedding. That's what I'm hearing here. This isn't about his professors and people in his conservative field. This is about you. And last time I checked, you're not marrying Amy. This one was also deleted by Reddit, so this should be fun. Am I the asshole for making my niece go on a date with a really nice kid after she was very mean girl to him? I have a very complicated situation going on right now, and honestly, I am the last person who should be in charge of teenagers, but this is my life. At least I've done better than Dad. I'm trying to think of a way to write this in a way that makes sense. My older sister's husband is in the military and deployed overseas. His dad recently had a small stroke and needs help. My sister asked my younger sister to watch her two kids, Kinsley, 15, and Adam, 13. But my younger sister is in the Air National Guard and had to have missions or something, so she asked me. She admitted to me that I'm a last resort and she's having a hard time trusting me, but I said I could handle it. I arrived on Tuesday night and Kinsley asked me if she could have a study partner over. I said that was fine and I loved this kid. He knew more about nerd culture and West Coast gangster rap than I did, and I loved talking to him. They studied for a while and I could just tell this kid was deep into his emotions for my niece. I just so happened to be taking trash out when I heard him ask that he'd really like to hang out as more than just friends, and she said that she wasn't sure. Well, on Wednesday night I heard Kinsley talking to one of her friends that her study partner was a nice guy, but she just wasn't into him like that, and she felt bad that she even sort of led him on. I decided that I would give her a day to come to her senses and go out with him, so I asked on what the fuck? I decided that I would give her a day to come to her senses and go out with him. So I asked on Thursday and she said no. She didn't see him that way. I told her if I was going to be in charge, she was going to go on a date with him and I would not allow cruelty to nice people. She screamed that she wasn't being cruel and I was like, that's it, you're gonna go out with him. She faked being sick on Friday, but I made her go to school and she begged me not to make her go out with this guy. And I said that no, she had to learn she couldn't be cruel to people and lead them on. He was such a gentleman when he picked her up on Friday, and he had her home right on time and even walked her to the door and thanked me for allowing him to date my niece. When Kinsley came inside, she said, I fucking hate you. Aunt Jessica would never have humiliated me like that, and went and slammed her door, and I haven't seen her since. My sister called me this morning and reamed me out and said that she wants her daughter to be nice as well, but I took away any sense of agency she had with this guy and that I'm not her parent. I'm there to call 911 if something goes wrong, not to emotionally scar her children because they make different choices. She also accused me of favoring this kid over my own niece. I don't get it. My sister was severely bullied as a kid until she literally turned into a SWAT in college, and I thought I was doing what she would do and not allow Kinsley to be a bully herself. Am I the asshole? Okay, so she said to a friend she wasn't into the guy and felt bad because she accidentally let him on, so you forced her to date the guy. That poor guy! Like, what if he finds out that Kinsley only dated him because her awkward uncle forced her to? He's gonna feel like shit! Okay, I'm gonna take a step back here. I think the uncle is just incredibly socially awkward. I can understand why he was the last resort to be picked to watch over the kids. And yeah, he's definitely the asshole in this situation. And apparently, according to the comments, because I got curious, someone actually managed to snag one of his responses down below. Copied verbatim from Opie's comments. Totally, you're the asshole. She wasn't mean, she wasn't cruel, she wasn't into this kid, and you apparently liked him so much that you're willing to force her to be with him. This is wrong on so many levels, and the fact that you don't get it is beyond bizarre. Frankly, if I was your sister, I'd be getting those kids away from you. Oh my god. Next, you'll be planning a wedding for them and dragging her to the altar by her hair. What century is this anyhow? And the OP responds, not breaking rule 3 here, I promise. But how is what she did not cruel? Can you put yourself in his shoes with how high on life he was after the study date, only to be dropped off a building? Emotionally, at least. Buddy, if her turning him down was dropping him off a building, then what you did was... Dude, when he finds out that she only went on a date with him because you made her, she wasn't being a bully, she was just not interested in a guy. I'm not crazy, right? Like, this is weird. So this one was deleted by Reddit, so we're reading off the auto-moderator's comment. Am I the asshole for kicking out my son? I, 43 male, am the father of 3 children. Recently I found out my son, Jay, 14 male, is in possession of drugs. A little bit of background about me. I'm a police officer in the Philippines. There's been a drug war raging here for a few years now, and it's my job to help fight the war. So as you could imagine, I was pretty upset about finding these drugs. When I talked to him, I immediately started yelling at him. I gave him the option to stay and get rid of the drugs or leave. He chose to leave. I didn't really leave him with anything. I just let him go and whatever of his stuff he wanted to keep. I have not looked back. Good God, dude. I found out that he's now living with my sister, who seems to be supporting him as much as possible. I cannot say that I'm exactly happy about this. While I'm glad he's safe, he should not be treated so well. Dude. My other 2 daughters, 8 and 12, are very upset with me about this. When they found out he was gone, they immediately objected. I've gotten quite aggressive towards them, as I'm not going to change my mind. I have told them to not bring it up again. My older daughter, G, seems to have been going out a lot. I'm pretty sure they've been seeing each other often. I will not change my mind about kicking out Jay, but I do wonder if I did the right thing. So am I the asshole for kicking him out so easily and being the way I am? So, I want to believe this is rage bait. But unfortunately, there's a little tell that I have that tells me if this was written by an adult who's fairly literate. And it's the fact that I read this in one take. The linguistical flow of this is a bit too perfect. It's a bit too on the nose for this to be like, well, bait. This feels like someone who's learned the fundamentals of English and is working around them, because every single word was very predictable, which tells me that this is probably an adult who's fluent in English as a second language. I've actually found that people who learn English as a second or third language, and when they're writing something up, normally they have actually surprisingly impeccable grammar, and their writing style is highly predictable. Which means that I'm able to narrate this in one single take, which is not very often, let me tell you what. And because it's probably real, it breaks my damn heart. Like, seriously. Kid's 14. Dude got abandoned by his father. My man, get off your high horse and have a conversation with your son. Thank God your sister exists, because this is just horrible. Am I the asshole for buying my son a better bicycle than the one my daughter has? I have a daughter, 16 female, and a son, 14 male. My daughter was always into cycling, and 2 years ago, I got her first proper road bike. It was used, but is excellent for her. It is from around 2010 and has a 10-speed group set. Older Shimano 105. Hope I said that right. She's been doing fine with it and even joins cycling clubs, group rides and races for women, and often finishes in the top 5 and even won a couple of times. My son used to be into cycling as well, but then kind of stopped 2 years ago, but now wants to get back into it and has outgrown his old bike. I am also into cycling and have a top-of-the-line carbon fiber frame Dura Ace Di2 group set bike, although I do not race but go on longer endurance runs and bike packing with some friends. My daughter does not often join us, but the few times she has, her bike was fine for the task and she kept up with us. I decided to get my son a bike that is quite smaller to mine, as he said he would join me bikepacking, etc. I know it is a little more than he needs for now, but the idea is that it will suit him longer for when he does reach peak performance and I don't have to buy a new bike. Getting such a bike for my daughter would not make a difference, as obviously, as a woman, she can output less power and there are diminishing returns on such a high-end bike. She has been winning races against such bikes on her current one. The only slight advantage would be from the disc brakes in newer bikes for her. However, I feel like she's a little jealous of her brother's new bike, and she's been acting a little cold towards me since I bought it and passive-aggressively talking about how she would love to have a carbon frame and electronic shifting. Am I the asshole here? While I can afford a bike for her, I don't feel like it makes sense if it'll never benefit her. Even bike companies make sure that all of the performance testing, etc. of these new components by reviewers are done by men, so they can truly test the limits of the technology. Oh my god. Yeah, dude. my man. Not only is there just blatant sexism in here, but you're actively favoring your son over your daughter because of the sexism. Yeah, of course she's gonna be upset with you and cold towards you. Dude, we all have our likes and hobbies. You very clearly are very passionate about your bikes, and you like sharing it with your children, but you're not passionate enough to share it with your daughter the same way you're sharing it with your son, and that's fucked up. This one was once again removed by Reddit. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay child support for a child that isn't mine? Buckle in, because this took a turn I wasn't expecting. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I, both mid to late 30s, are in a disagreement. We're currently separated in the process of divorcing. She's basically demanding I pay child support to her, which I refuse so far, because the child is not my biological child. My ex keeps arguing that we chose together to adopt, and that makes us both legally responsible. See, I told you. If I had my own child, I'd be happy to pay and be involved as much as possible, but that's not my real kid. Dude, fuck you. I don't think it's fair or right that I'm expected to help pay for a child I didn't help create. Once the divorce is finalized, I plan on cutting ties with my ex and the child completely. I've been talking over the issue with my friends and family, and opinions are split. Half say I owe my ex and that kid nothing. I should move on and never look back. The other half agree with my ex and say that by us adopting, it made us parents together, and we both owe the child the best life we could give them. I won't have a choice to pay if I'm ordered by the courts to do so, but until then, I don't plan to, as my ex-child is not mine. I'm willing to sign away any rights I have to the child. Am I the asshole? Yes. Are you possibly entitled to not pay for a child that's not yours? Honestly, in this case, no. Fuck you, dude. You agreed with your ex-wife to adopt that child, and fuck you for saying not your real kid. My uncle has 2 adopted children, and those 2 kids are as much family as anyone else. And I know for a fact that there are a lot of children of parents who adopted and parents who have adopted children who would want to line up and get 5 minutes in the ring with you for the comments that you just made. Not your real child. Dude, even if you want nothing to do with that kid, which is your right, I firmly think that makes you an asshole in that situation, as you asked. But you should be required to pay your ex-wife child support because both of you adopted a child. That's on you, my dude. I'm actually willing to bet that the adoption process is probably why they're divorced, because if this is how you see the adopted child, thank God you two got divorced, because that kid would have been miserable with you as a father. Please let this be rage bait. Please. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those 2 are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code EYES at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.